Hey guys, weekly IBD video sponsored by MarketSmith, a discounted trial available in the comments below. So I've got 10 stocks to be showing you in this video from the IBD 50 list. I'm also going to be showing you the industry groups. So they're going to be oil and gas field services, biotech, some of the semiconductors, and also the building construction industry group, looking pretty interesting. Side note, outside of that, the China related stocks and also precious metal miners are looking fairly strong. We'll see if they work their way into the IBD 50. So we're going to be starting off with Halliburton. So oil and gas field services is currently ranked number 2 out of 197. So it's a very strong industry group indeed. The actual industry group chart itself looks strong, looks fairly similar to Halliburton here and a Schlumberger. They have a significant weighting within that industry group. But there's been some recent breakouts in the past couple of weeks, such as 9, OII, HLX as well. So other stocks within this industry group. It's good to see those breakouts now. Some of the bigger boys like a Halliburton, like a Schlumberger, also potentially setting up. So what I like here is cup and handle, couple of shakeouts within the context of the handle as well. RS lines are turning up nicely. Fidelity increased their position in the most recently reported quarter. Earnings per share year over year ticking up. Very big estimates for 2022 and 23 with the forward guidance up. Earnings coming through, sales coming through, margins accelerating, hitting a lot of those CANSLIM boxes that I would be looking for. Now from a technical perspective, I really wanted this to actually, it started to go already through kind of $40. I was looking for, if you know how I like to trade, so looking for those very tight trigger bars, I was actually looking for this to just get a little bit tighter underneath $40. So I don't want to be kind of rushing and chasing it here, albeit it does look pretty constructive on the weekly chart. I'll show you that in a second, but I'm just looking for it to basically pull back a little bit and just tighten up in here around $40. That's where I'm watching for a pivot point to form. So really tight trigger bar, preferably sitting on one or more key moving averages. So potentially the 10 EMA and the 21 EMA, which is that pink line and that green line. Volume is drying up nicely. Looks fairly strong. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings coming up and out the right hand side of this cup here. So I think this one is looking interesting. Weekly chart, go kind of reducing the noise, but see how you get this shakeout in the bottom of the cup and now building a constructive looking cup on the handle type pattern. Yeah, looks fairly interesting. If I show you the industry group as well, so ideally you want strong stocks in strong groups. So if you take a look here, this is the oil and gas field services group. See how this RS line is turning up? We like that. Volume is drying up in the context of a potential handle, and then here you have a potential cup and handle starting to go sideways, consolidating nicely around the red line, which is the 10, which is a 10-week. So Halliburton is one on my radar. Some of the other ones, you can see them here in terms of the group, a Schlumberger and HLX and OII, a ticker 9 as well. They are all on my radar for this heading into this week. I think this is an interesting area of the market indeed. CPRX. So this one here is a biotech stock. So if I show you this one on the daily chart, you can see it was, I just wanted this to go just tighten up a little bit more on the 1021 EMA in here. It was tightening pretty nicely actually underneath $20, $19.50. I was just looking for that. Now what I like this biotech stock, I prefer trading biotech stocks that actually have either very high sales, but preferably have very high sales earnings. They're actually making money instead of just an FDA approval for phase 2 or something like that. They can kind of fizzle out fairly quickly after that. But what I like here is you can see the company actually earns money, which is good for a biotech stock. The estimates look very good as well. 2022 plus 33%, 2023 plus 66% with the guidance up as well. That's what those little green arrows mean. Earnings in the most recent quarter, 86%, sales plus 59%, and margins plus 50%. RS lines are very good versus the market, versus the industry group. So this is one I'm watching and waiting. For me, it feels like it's a little bit short on a short-term basis, extended here. So ideally, it actually just kind of pulls back a little bit and tightens under $20, something like that. But this one here, in terms of biotechs, which are a pocket of strength in the in the market on my radar, looks interesting. If I just show you IBD, this is the main ETF that I look at for biotech stocks. So see how it's building higher lows here and going into this quasi flag type pattern, and you've got the 1021 EMA plus the 50 SMA in there as well. Try to come out through that on volume on Friday last week and see how it's building these higher lows. So you're getting some nice VCP action in the kind of main sector ETF that I look at. Volume has been drying up there as well. So biotech stocks, there's a lot of them out there. I'll give you a couple of bonuses. Right, here's some other ones I'm looking at. RXDX. Okay, this stock had a really nice move here, pull back into the 10 EMA. Now can this just tighten up for a low pivot? Looking at that one very closely this week. High quality growth fund is in there. MDGL is another one. fairly high on the radar. So nice move here. You get follow through buying coming through, that's great. And now looking for a high type flag to set up, but would like this pink line to be there if and when a trigger bar forms. So something like this, really tight, that's what I would be looking at. So a couple of other biotechs there, but I'd rather be trading like a CPRX that actually has the earnings there, the sales there, the estimates up as well, so on and so forth. Taking more of the CANSLIM blocks is fairly liquid as well. So let's go into a couple of semiconductor stocks. So what I think is interesting here, there's a couple popping up on the radar. I'll give you a couple of bonuses that I'm looking at, but let me just first and foremost start with the industry group itself. So what I think is interesting here, I'm going to start on the weekly chart, actually, potentially a head and shoulders bottoming type pattern. If you want to read a really good book on head and shoulders, I think where it's actually explained best is probably Stan Weinstein's Secret for Profiting in Bull or Bear Markets. Worthwhile reading that book. So here's the left shoulder. Here's the potential head, and then here is the potential right shoulder forming. And what do you notice about the RS line? See how this RS line is turning up, it's building a higher low, looks interesting, potentially setting up a break at this downwards trend line as well. So I think some of these semiconductor stocks, and actually the other ones I was going to show you a couple of here. PI looks pretty strong, Rambus looks pretty strong as well, SMCI looks fairly strong, and see how that volume's drying up. So I think it's looking interesting. So ideally you want strong stocks in strong groups. Here's the head and shoulders. More so left shoulder is the head, and then here is the potential right shoulder, your RS line turning up there. You've got volume drying up as well, and there was that downwards trend line that we were talking about. So obviously there's still some work to do, but you have an industry group that's potentially setting up here with this bottoming type pattern, and then you have strong stocks within that industry group. So let me take you through the two first on the IBD 50 list, and I'll give you a couple of other bonus ones. So Wyckoff hat on here. Obviously a phase 4 decline, right? We've got this phase 4 decline, so this is kind of Stan Weinstein, classic Wyckoff as well, price cycle. So we've got this potential phase 1 base building here. Now ideally on the transition from a phase 4 into a phase 1, you want to see a change of character. So you're looking for a fairly violent and aggressive reversal. So we see that in here. Okay, see how this is a change of character in terms of how the stock was moving to the downside before. See how it's moving now, and you have some good volume coming through there too. And then we get this base that starts forming. Now in the context over here, and this would be a Wyckoff phase C spring, but you see how this is then potentially building out a cup and handle type pattern. So in the second half it's going to look like a Z, but if this is the first half, this is the second half, quite commonly you'll see in these phase 1 basing patterns a cup and handle type pattern form. That was obviously O'Neill's favorite chart pattern to identify. So let's just clear all those wiggly lines. Now LSCC, what I like here, see how it's building higher lows on the 50-day moving averages, and you also have the 10 and 21 here as well. So potential low pivot forming. If you then go to the weekly chart, that's going to be sitting nicely on the 10 week. That can be a spot where large operators like to come in, either initiate positions and or add to positions. What I would actually, my preference here with a stock like this is actually it bounces first closer to say $70, then pulls in, puts in another higher low, and then just starts tightening up like this, something like that. That's what I would like to see it do. Maybe it does it this week, maybe it takes a couple of weeks, but that's how I'm looking at this stock. Very good earnings coming through in terms of the earnings per share. Estimates look pretty good, forward guidance up, and then you can see you've got two higher quality growth funds initiating a position in the most recently reported quarter, one adding and one marginally reducing their position as well. So that one there looks interesting. A Broadcom looks interesting as well. So see how it's breaking through this quasi low pivot. 1021 EMA is there. What chart pattern do you see? See a cup and handle, and then trying to break out at the handle. Again, short term, clearly extended, isn't it? So I'm not going to be chasing it up here. What I would like to see is it just pull back in, and let me just delete those lines. So it pulls back in and then just starts putting in some nice higher lows like this, maybe underneath $600, something like that, and then this kind of cup and handle, and the handle part broadens out and it tightens up under $600. That's what I'm looking at. There, let me give you a couple of bonus ones. So you got PI. I think this one's looking interesting. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings, gapping up, pulls back down, starts bouncing a couple of times off the 10 and 21 EMA. Little undercut of the 50 SMA, now starting to recover. So I quite like looking for the context of pocket pivots around the 10, 21 and 50 SMA when they are clustering. So needs some more work. Need to see that price volatility just decrease and tighten. But if it can start getting really tight in there, and I can go in with an initial stop of 3%, 4% on this kind of stock, yeah, I'll be thinking here's kind of that pocket pivot I was talking about. So see how you have the 10, 21 and 50 SMA, see how tight the price action gets in there, see how the volume dries up as well. So it's nice to see a potential setup that I'm looking to target. It acted well previously on the stock. got some high quality growth funds adding to their positions as well. 950% on the earnings, 51% on the sales. Look at the margins accelerating, 4, 5, 13. Really good. Take a look at the estimates. 2022 plus 260%, 2023 plus 40% with the guidance up as well. And SMCI is another one. So 1021 50 SMA, similar kind of setup. How I'm thinking about it as a PI, can it just create kind of that tight little pocket pivot type setup around the 1021 and 50 SMA, starting to build higher lows? So yeah, that's one I'm looking at. Good earnings, good sales, good margins, and accelerating margins. So ticking a lot of the boxes there. Let's go on to some of the building construction related stocks. I'm just going to start off with the industry group. So again, trying to identify strong groups and then strong stocks within said group. So you can see clearly a phase 4 decline, but we're now potentially starting to see a cup and handle type pattern forming here. Take a look at the RS line improving as well. That's always a good sign. 1021 EMA trying to break out through that. So I would have liked to see a little bit more volume coming through, but that potentially gives some more opportunity for some of these stocks to tighten up. If the group doesn't go yet, can it just kind of pull back, tighten up a little bit more? But that's something that I'm looking at. Let me then show you some related stock. So first one is ticker M is MTH. So potential phase 1 bases, seeing a lot of these kind of phase 1 base breakout attempts. We'll see if they follow through to the upside or not. So in these phase 1 base, you can then quite commonly get a cup and handle type pattern forming. So this one short term clearly extended, isn't it? So it just needs to now kind of pull back, tighten up, maybe around underneath, maybe around $100, a little more point psychological level. But good earnings, good sales, good margins coming through. Show you a couple of other ones. So it's nice to see a lot of stocks within a specific group acting well. So you got DHI is the next one. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings. It's kind of wedging up here for me, so this just needs to kind of pull back, set up. But there are stocks here, these are obviously in the IBD 50 list, that are potentially setting up in a group, and the group industry chart looks strong as well. GRBK is another one. A little bit more choppy this one, but again, see how it's kind of going here. It needs a little bit of kind of pullback work for me, but that one there potentially looks interesting. A PHM looks interesting as well. So this is one that's formed a larger VCP and then a smaller VCP within the context of a larger VCP. So here's the larger VCP, and then if we just remove that and then look over here, you can see the context, see how it's building higher lows in here for a lower VCP. Now it's kind of broken out of this low pivot here already. So again, short-term basis extended, but putting this on your radar as it looks to be a strong group within the context of the IBD 50 with a lot of strong stocks. So I don't want to be chasing it up here. It will need to pull back, tighten up, at least let the 10 EMA catch up, preferably the 21 as well. But this one, I'll be watching this over the next week or two, see if this one and other related stocks can set up. This is a KB home, so again, potential VCP. See how it's starting to build these higher lows, and then over here you get some nice kind of Davis box action breaking through this pivot around the 1021 EMA. So short term extended here for me, similar to all the other ones that I'm showing you, just needs a little bit more time to pull back, tighten up, but that's what I'm looking at. And then finally TTC is the next one. So high quality growth fund in there. Technically this one looks much stronger. You can see it's already broken out of this phase 1 base. See how it started putting in these higher lows. See, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Choppy around the pivot. I wasn't targeting it in there, but RS lines overall look fairly good. Can it now just tighten up on the 10 and 21 EMA? Maybe the 50 catches up. There was a nice shakeout underneath the 50, but can this one just tighten up in here? This one is looking interesting, technically much stronger. Earnings per share year over year ticking up nicely. So yeah, this one's on my radar. So these building construction related stocks are also there as well, but need to get those low risk entry points. But certainly an interesting area of the market indeed, as are some other areas. So just to recap, oil and gas stocks looking fairly strong. Some of the Chinese related stocks also looking strong. Precious metal miners, we'll see if some of those start making it onto the IBD 50 list. Some of the semiconductor stocks, some of the biotech healthcare related stocks, also some of the building construction stocks. So that's it, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Hopefully you enjoyed that one, and I'll see you in the next video.